Hi everyone, Sam Silverman, Managing Partner of EB-5 here with my partner Mike Schoenfeld.
We spent a lot of time and years in the industry analyzing projects, structuring deals, and one of the things that brought us into EB-5 in the first place was we realized that there was just a lack of transparency in the space. Back in 2012 and 2013, there were many projects out there raising capital, and with such a big gap in between investors that don't natively speak English or may not know the subject area of the real estate investment, we realized that it was critical to bring more transparency to the investments and to the industry and give investors better information.
Exactly, and because of that information asymmetry with foreign investors, again, may not be native English speakers, may not be familiar with business practices, investment rules, laws in the United States where these EB-5 investments takes place. It's critical for companies to be very transparent and make sure that investors really understand exactly what they're signing up for. Oftentimes, projects are marketed and it's unclear exactly how EB-5 funds are going to be used, how long the funds may be invested in a project, how the project is structured, and what are the other sources of capital that are coming in besides just EB-5 investment capital to fund the project. And so as a company, we've tried to really bring as much transparency as we can to the investment structuring process, the other capital sources besides EB-5 that are needed for a project to get successfully completed on time and on schedule, and also to be realistic with investors about how long their funds are going to be needed in a project, and also how long the immigration process is going to take, whether they're in the US already and they're eligible for an adjustment of status, or if they're applying from outside of the United States and they're going to need to wait until their I-526C approval before they'll be able to obtain the green card and relocate permanently to the United States.
And fortunately for investors now, there's a lot more information available online and just in general on the EB-5 program and things to look for. So what we've prided ourselves in as a company is that we've focused extensively with over 100 webinars with leading EB-5 attorneys, industry participants, trying to work through all the different aspects of the EB-5 program, both at a basic level and then also very much in the weeds of complex topics. We think it's critical for investors to be able to do as much research as they'd like, and some investors choose to go very deep to understanding all of the details of EB-5 and the very specific mechanics, and other investors do choose to rely on their advisors, their immigration attorneys for advice. There's no right answer on the way to do it, but we want to make sure that that information is available to any investor that wants to do their own homework to understand the program.
Over the last 11 years since we entered the EB-5 space, we've seen consumer behavior shift. A lot more of our investors are going online, they're starting the immigration research online, they're starting their investment research online, and our website is one of the most active platforms where investors can hear testimonials. We have almost 20 EB-5 investor testimonials with videos and interviews where investors can see other people just like them explain why they decided to do EB-5 in the first place, and also why they picked a specific project and what the process was like for them going through source of funds, documenting where their funds came from, the experience working with a qualified immigration attorney to help them through the immigration process, and also selecting a project. Obviously, that process doesn't take place in a vacuum. People go online, they Google, they research, and having a lot of informational tools, investment frameworks, and other helpful tools like our FAQ videos to help investors understand what are the things they should be looking for when they're considering an investment in any project.
One thing that's really important to us, as Sam mentioned, are those investor testimonials. Now, we don't give out prior investors' contact information, of course, because that's confidential, but we know that many prospective investors are interested in hearing from real investors of why they chose certain projects, of what their experience was like working with different regional centers and different groups. And I'd highly recommend any investor that's considering investing to work with immigration attorneys to understand that, to watch testimonials from prior investors and understand why they chose certain projects, the thought process that they were going through at each step of the way. And that's one of the things that didn't used to be available. And we've put a strong emphasis on making sure investors are able to get that type of information directly from prior investors.
One of the things you mentioned there, Mike, immigration attorneys. So what is the immigration attorney's role in an EB-5 investment? Each EB-5 investor gets to select their own independent EB-5 immigration attorney. Mike, why is that so important that that attorney representing each investor is independent?
Absolutely. And within anything, there can always be conflicts of interest. And that's pretty standard. But if you have an attorney that's structuring the project on behalf of a regional center, and then they're representing all the investors, or a regional center or project forces you to use that same attorney to represent you as the investor, there's an inherent conflict of interest there. Fortunately, there's dozens, if not hundreds, of qualified immigration attorneys that will have no relationship to the project, will not have accepted money from them to represent the project itself. So they are then able to independently review the project, understand the immigration risk. And as we've said many times before, the conflict of interest doesn't really matter until things go wrong. But if the things do go wrong, it's absolutely critical to have that independence so you have somebody looking out for you that might not also be looking out for the regional center or the project, or somebody that might have different interests in mind.
On the same topic of transparency, independence, let's talk about financial statements. Why have we not seen an industry standard evolve where all projects are sharing financial statements with investors? What are financial statements? Why are they so important? You worked in institutional investing.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that so important to be able to review and analyze before making an investment today?
Absolutely, and that just comes to transparency. Every project is going to have its own P&L, balance sheet, and you'll see exactly what the cycle of the project is. Some projects are pre-development, and it's helpful to see exactly how much money has really been invested, where the sources of capital are coming from, and get a real sense of, is the money there for this to be built? And then other projects are already underway. Maybe it's a neighborhood that's halfway built. It's helpful to see, are they profitable? Are they making money on every home sale? Is it an economically viable business? So generally, we don't expect every investor to be an expert on accounting or to be an expert on financial statements, but at least the first step is being able to know that you have access to it, taking a look at it, seeing if things make sense, and having a group that's willing to answer your questions if they don't make sense to you. So that's one of those key items.